Welcome back to CEEN Caribbean News. In today's Indepth, George Davis sits down with Jamaica's Tourism Minister, Ed Bartlett.
This week on Indepth, we speak with the Tourism Minister, Edmund Bartlett. He has a plan built on 5 pillars to grow the industry and by extension contribute to growing the economy, and he's promising to deliver several thousand jobs, new rooms by the year 2020. Thanks for hosting us.
Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate the partnership with us.
Great. In 2008, when you made your contribution to the sectoral debate in your first turn as tourism minister, you outlined a vision for tourism that you said would be built on 3 pillars: marketing, product development, and innovation. Fast forward 8 years, your second term as tourism minister, and you've outlined 5 pillars. Perhaps on examining the pillars then and the pillars now, persons can say, well, where is the real change in the minister's vision for the tourism product in Jamaica beyond adding 2 additional things to his 5 pillars mix? How do you respond? Where's the change?
Well, the 5 pillars are now underpinned by 5 networks, and the networks are what drive the experiential nature of the offering, because the industry is driven by experiences. That's what we sell. And so if we build out new products, if we build out new partnerships, if we build our human capital and take it to another level, and we bring new investments and we go after new markets, then we have to ensure that the new and exciting experiences that drives people to travel. You see, people travel to fulfill their passions. And so our job is to build out products around the passion points. And that's what the 5 networks will do.
But looking at the 5 pillars again and the 5 networks, people are saying, well, if it is that a generational term in politics has expired, so you did your term from 07 September to December 2011. There was an intervening period when you were out of office. Wickham McNeil led the ministry, so you're back now. They are looking and comparing what you did in your first term with what you're setting out to do in your second term and say, okay, where is that precision in focus? Where is that difference in reading the tourism landscape and preparing for it now as opposed to when he started his mission in 2007?
Well, there's one word that I want to use which will describe the whole new approach, and it's called innovation. Tourism is driven by innovation. It's about creating new vistas. It's about creating new ideas. It's being able to convert those new ideas into new products. So once you're able to do that, then you can take the industry to a higher level. But there's something about Jamaica's tourism which requires the rethink. And what that is changing the consumption and production patterns so that our absorptive capacity for tourism demand is lifted to a level where we can now retain tourism earnings. Now, in the first round, we were strong on marketing, so we were building demand. We left certain guidelines for building out our capacity to supply on that demand. We spent $19 million on a study, on commissioning a study, which study is now done, and the previous administration completed the study and we have the booklet. And from that study, they established the linkage network, which enabled the potential providers of tourism services and goods to have an opportunity to see what the demand really is in quantitative terms. Now, I am at this juncture where I have to do now the actual conversion. I have to actualize that. So this strategy which we are pursuing in this round is to enable more Jamaicans to be able to supply on the tourism demand.
I have a very good friend who's an experienced attorney of maybe just over 3 decades, who has constantly said to me in our private conversations that there's nothing new under the sun.
True.
So everything has been done and done over. I hear you on the linkages, and I'm happy you went there, because the point I'm making now germinates from that lesson that he has drilled into me. Previous governments, the previous one, the PNP administration, spoke big about the tourism linkages, linking the farmer in the field in St. Elizabeth, what he produces, to the big hotel chains, linking the farmer in St. Mary who raises beef, who raises pigs, to supply to the hotels right around. But it's not an integration that a reasonable Jamaican can feel and say, yes, farmers in and around this island, whether they are poultry farmers or they farm produce, there is that tangible link between what they produce and what the hotels consume. And a lot of what is on the tourists' plate comes from the fields, comes from the farmlands of so-and-so farmer and so-and-so space. How do you make that now into something real?
All right. First thing is a process. We began on the basis that the perception was that tourism consumption was essentially foreign goods. And the second issue there is that our staples, the basic foods that we eat in Jamaica, are also imported. It's flour, it's rice, it's wheat, and wheat-related bread and so on. Right? So the local goods that we produce, the commodities that we produce, we've produced for export, by and large. That has been the tradition. So the sugar, you know, the banana, the cocoa, the coffee, all of those things we produce for export. And export for us meant a third market. We never considered that that third market could be here in Jamaica, i.e. tourism.
Yes.
So the production patterns were not about tourism. They were about exporting to a third market or consumption for local use. Now we have to change that pattern, and it takes time. And it takes time for us, for example, for the big banana producers to know that if you produce enough bananas to supply the 30,000 rooms that you have in Jamaica, the 3.7 million people who arrive here every year, you will have to perhaps triple your production. And you then will perhaps have to look at some new processes for agro-processing, so as to be able to preserve your banana, to make banana chips, to do a whole host of things with banana that will create jobs, but more importantly, will be supplying on the demand of tourism. So we have to go there. We have to then get investments. We have to get investments again in agro-processing. Look at pork and pork parts and the varied chain, value chain that offers for the industry. Eggs. You know, take eggs. It's perhaps about millions of eggs. I'm not going to put a figure, but millions of eggs that are consumed in the tourism industry annually. And then there's liquid eggs that are required now for the various culinary applications that eggs are required for, from your salads, your Caesars, right up to your cakes and your pastries.
But the concretization of these linkages, though, you're saying, and you want to send the message clear, I'm sure, is that this won't happen in one term. This is something you're planning for, but...
Absolutely, George. And this is what I'm saying. First thing to do was to quantify. And we have done a little of that. We still need to do more.
Yes.
Because the document which I have is by no means sufficient. So I'm bringing a professor who I will name later on into the office to work with us in this round on building out these quantitatives that are going to be available to the market, to the suppliers, to the banks. That's most important. So as to enable the financing, and then to ensure that there is also a change in attitude of guess who? The hoteliers.
The hoteliers. On the point
because
that
their purchasing patterns are going to have to change.
On the point of the hoteliers, one of the headline-grabbing statistics out of any update on tourism performance is, of course, visitor arrivals. When you were in office for the period September 07 to December 2011, you recorded year over year increases in stopover visitors. There was a problem with cruise ship arrivals, foreign point, yes, 2007 to 2008, and and then it picked up. Yeah, you, based on the average I worked out, your high water mark in terms of visitors added year over year was perhaps between 2010 and 2011, about 90,000.
Yes, right.
You left office though with overall arrivals just below 2 million.
Absolutely.
Wickham McNeil took it over the 2 million mark. You've said recently that it's part of your mission to increase visitor arrivals, and you point to the US market. But I'm saying to you that the US market has always been the barn that we've raided, and yet the share of the US market that Jamaica has captured over time is relatively minuscule compared to what other countries take from the US in terms of visitors. And given our proximity, people are saying, well, it's as if we can't do any better than we're doing with the US market. How do you respond to that?
Absolutely unfair is a comment that you can't do more. You can.
But the numbers back me up though.
Well, the thing is that we've grown, and in every year we've grown out of the US market. What has happened, the increment of growth has not been sufficient, and that's where my head is now. And
that is why I'm saying that it's as if we can't, because here's the thing.
No, but we haven't done
I'm giving you the answer. I'm giving you the opportunity. Well, hear me. You have said when the tourism minister previously reported growth figures of 4% and 5%, you're saying, well, 4 and 5% in a vacuum is fine overall.
He hasn't been there yet.
No, man, overall growth of stopover arrivals for the year.
No, he hasn't been there yet.
Where?
In the 4 years, they've averaged just about 2%.
All right, 2%. But you're saying that in a vacuum that's good.
He hasn't had 1 year of 4% growth.
But hold on, give me the point. 2% average. You're saying that in a vacuum 2% growth is okay, it's commendable. But when you compare it to what the rest of the world is doing, we're not doing well. So I'm saying to you, it's not enough for you to say that incremental growth of the US supports the strategy that we've been using to get visitors out of the US market. So I'm suggesting to you that perhaps it needs an about change, the approach to the US market, to get more out, so that we can capitalize more on the fact that your neighbors here.
With you,
yes.
To get more,
yes,
you always have to use new strategies, and you have to apply innovation, and that's where we are. We're going to be using the technology that is now at our field.
What's that?
In a stronger way. We're going to be using, well, the Internet of Me, the Internet of everything, as we call it, right?
Internet of Things, yes.
Yes. And we're going to be using mega data analytics to focus more on geomarketing and content marketing. So you know exactly who you're going to, you know what they're saying about you, you know what they want of you, and you go to deal with it appropriately. This is a facility which we never had, the market never had. But today we have that, and we're going to be using it. As a matter of fact, last night I was having a discussion with the Director of Tourism on the e-marketing strategies for the US. But beyond that, destinations are connected by air links, as you know.
Yeah.
Right? And Jamaica's connectivity to the US is at a new high now. We did a lot of good work in my first term, and the American Airlines arrangement was perhaps the seminal arrangement which really changed the whole connectivity situation. It made us able to connect with 200 gateways within America, which we've never been able to surpass. But now we have more airlines, more
airlift,
more airlines as connected. And it's interesting that the largest provider of traffic for us now is Southwest here.
Southwest.
Yes. But coming out of Dallas. So it's interesting how all of that has changed. Now, what does that mean?
Yes.
It means now that we are able to not only connect from the traditional breadbasket of the northeastern seaboard, but we are now well placed in the Midwest, and the West has come back because the California flight is back.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All the best.
That's
That was In Depth. We spoke with the Tourism Minister, Edmund Bartlett.